They're going to ride on board with Joey Haynes right here, our current leader. It's all going to unfold right in front of them.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's like a video game. It is, well, I mean, I say that, but you know what I mean. It's just zipping past cars. It's like he's playing some arcade game there and just blasting past them one after another as they all wreck around him.
I mentioned how aggressive Hovdal was through the GTO traffic on the lap before, and here he's going to try to go around the outside, which he's already in the dirty air, and just barely hangs on to it. Bill with another poor exit out of turn one. You got to think the over-under has got to be coming at some point, but no. Neil Kemp's going to try the long way around turn two. What a battle here for the 6th place position. Neil Kemp has half a car over Bill Tyler, but they're going to take it side by side into the short break zone. This could be disaster right here, but Bill Tyler thankfully backs out of it.
Will he get both of these spots, or will it be Kimo or Gernot through the first corner, out of that one, and now it's going to be 3 wide as they come up to the next braking zone.
Watch Leno right here. He's going to have the best draft off the back of Kimo, but Gernot's going to take it wide around the outside. He's going to have great traction coming off of this corner.
Who's going to get the exit? That's going to be so critical. Oh, no, banging wheels.
We're almost to that point. Antonio Alvarez is 5 seconds back, so it's only going to be 4 cars. But my goodness, it's a 4-car fight now for the 7th position.
Oh no, this is too wide through the chicane. This doesn't work well. Fabian Jungbluth is going to have to take a course cut. That's going to be a slowdown penalty. Aitor Sintes Galindo keeps on rocking. That's going to be Xavier Sanchez and Ross Banfield now taking it too wide on Aitor Sintes Galindo. He doesn't have a time to breathe out there.
Nobody has a time to breathe. Sintes Galindo fighting off the battle from Jungbluth. Now he's under pressure from Banfield. Xavier Sanchez looking on in the back, and Jungbluth is now caught up because of these guys going too wide. Everyone's a little slower right now. They've lost a full 1.5 seconds to Antonio Alvarez. Now it's almost going to be 3 wide into the braking zone for the next right-hander, and they make a little contact.
Just a little bit of contact puts 2 wheels of Banfield out on the dirt, and the defense of Aitor Sintes Galindo. Write this down. This is one for the ages, folks. He is still in that 7th position.
With a new toy, it was a no-brainer that the POC members would be eager to get to play with it. As such, instead of the planned outgoing RSR, our drivers get their hands on the new GT3R. But let's hope they don't mess up that shiny new toy too badly, as the walls here at Montreal are likely to leave it rather scuffed up. Let's see who kicks off the season with a win as we get ready to watch round 1 of the Porsche Owners Club Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. With F1 having just raced here yesterday, most fans will be familiar with this place. But just in case you missed it, let's head to our track guide.
Welcome to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Host of the Canadian Grand Prix for over 40 years, this track's popularity among fans refuses to wane. Although it has gone through a few alterations in its history, the nature of its layout has remained pretty much the same. That nature, of course, is that its 14 turns are mostly chicanes, split up by long straights to add up to a 2.7-mile street course-like canyon of a track. These 4.3 kilometers are mainly made up of actual streets on the man-made Ile Notre Dame, though portions are specifically built for the racetrack. But whether or not fans consider it a true street course, the close barriers that line the majority of the track don't care what you think. Places like the exit of Turn 4 and Turn 9 frequently collect the greedy. But these pale in infamy to the notorious Wall of Champions. Named for its penchant to collect F1 World Champions, the corner itself is called Quebec. Regardless, it's a finicky and tight chicane with a critical corner exit, so drivers are tempted into edging the car as close as they dare to the concrete. Despite the numerous heavy braking zones, passing can be difficult at times for certain types of cars. Often, attrition or cut course penalties play a bigger part in who finishes where. While sports cars and NASCAR have both made stops here, this place is mainly known for its history with Formula One. Named after what is easily Canada's most popular driver in the International Open Wheel Series, this semi-temporary circuit looks like it's actually here to stay for a long, long time.
Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Joey, this is another one of those tracks on iRacing that is very take no prisoners.
Take no prisoners because of the walls, specifically that Wall of Champions, one of the most iconic corners in all of motorsports. We're going to see who it claims here today, but the track, 13 turns, 2.71 miles in length. A little bit of a stop and start track known for its slow chicanes and then long straightaways with big top speeds, but that also provides really big braking zones for potential overtakes. See who is confident on the brakes here today.
Absolutely. It's certainly going to be a test of bravery in a few ways. Now, before we get to the racing, we want to remind you that this series is brought to you by Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Game Changer Wealth, helping you become a game changer with wealth. Contact them today at GameChangerBR.com or at 225-664-2565. Now, the championship last season wound up going to Michael Johnson. A bit of a surprise at about halfway through the season because it looked like Leighton was going to run away with it. But in the end, Michael came out on top. Leighton did come in second over Michael Bolton, so he was able to do that. But Bolton was very close, a single point ahead of Chinichi in the end. Andrew having to miss a number of races, including the early ones. So let's see with him showing up at the start here if he's going to make a difference on that. Chad Duncan and Cigar Dewan separated by a mere 2 points themselves come the end of that very tight season. But let's head to the race details. Joey, what are we up against?
Yeah, well, we are in these brand new Porsche GT3 cars, the 992 model, but the start of a brand new season here, round 1 of 12. The cars are out doing their qualifying right now. It is a 30-minute qualifying plus a 30-minute race, and the most important thing here, everybody is on a fixed setup. That means it's up to the driver to maximize the speed out of the car and the track.
Indeed, and right now the driver that's finding the speed is not that much of a surprise. Tom Leighton is on the provisional pole with a new paint scheme as well for that new car, but he's going to head into pit lane, it looks like, and maybe try and take himself some fresh tires, I suppose, to see if he can get a little quicker at the end of this. Not surprised with how warm it is out on the track. I got to think that fresh tires late in qualifying could make a huge difference.
You were mentioning that. Look at those temperatures, 113 degrees on the blacktop. So as soon as you step foot on the track, it is going to be tire wear to the maximum. Not only that, but you find yourself slip sliding around a lot when you need the grip the most.
Absolutely. And, well, not many people have much experience in this specific car, although I kind of wonder, Joey, since the 992 is pretty close, I'd say, to the 991 of the GT3Rs, do you think it's not going to be too much of an adjustment, as that was a lot of curb there for Chinichi, trying to switch over to this new car? Because it's been out on iRacing for literally less than a week.
I don't think so. It's similar enough to the old car. And the way that I always approached getting into a new race car is that look, there's a reason why they made the new one. It's going to be better. So everything that you wanted to get rid of in the old model, it should be better in this new one. So you might not have to think of it as learning something new, but maybe just getting into a better version of what you were already driving.
That's a good point. I like that outlook on it. But Shinichi here going to start on a new lap. Actually, I just didn't realize that, just missed that he took pole away from Tom Layton, who is back out on the course on those fresh tires now. So Shinichi looking pretty good with that 35.3. He seemed to be at times the only one that could take to fight to Tom, although there were a few errant races where he was up against others who had a pace to try and challenge him. So we'll see what the things look like this time out as we've reset all the points and we start back at the beginning once again. And Cigar de Juan, that was another one that impressed me at the end of last season, Joey. It seemed like he was starting to pick it up and finding better speed out there, and he's carrying that over. He is within about half a second of the pole up in third.
Yeah, right now provisionally third on the board, like you were mentioning. Get a nice shot of Cigar as he's going down what is into the hairpin section of this racetrack. You see how tight it is, a passing opportunity going in, but more crucially, it's about putting the power down coming out, because that leads onto the incredibly long Casino Straight.
Indeed, and this straight used to be a series of very fast curves, but they straightened it out. I believe it was in either the early 90s or late 80s, and now it offers a very good passing zone there into the final chicane, past the wall of champions, keeps it out of the barrier. Let's see if he can go quicker than that 35.9. No, looks like he had an off track somewhere in there.
Now, I love putting my foot in my mouth over here, but it looks like these cars are handling the curbs very, very well. Like through the wall of champions. Oh, got the little bit out of shape there for Shinichi on the brakes, but it looks like they're able to bounce up over these chicane curbs, and it's not upsetting the car very much at all.
Yeah, that is working out beautifully. I'm kind of amazed at how aggressive they've been. This is, of course, also the first coverage that we're getting to do on the channel of these new 992s. So a bit of a learning experience for us up here in the booth as well. But right now, looks like Layton is going to try and see if he can improve on that 35.599. But this lap doesn't look like it's a fast one for him. I'm showing him about a second off of his best. Ooh, that was very close to the wall of champions on the exit.
Yeah, let's see what he ends up putting down here. 35.64, so just shy of his fastest lap. And we are starting to run out of qualifying time. I know that it's about 2.5 minutes left, so I think if you're thinking about putting in a scorcher at the end, it's got to be on your game plan. Start setting it up now.
I went back and checked. He did clip the exit wall, so that's why that last lap was actually deleted for Tom Layton, and he's got a tiny little bit of damage on the right rear of the car. So I don't know if that's going to slow him down. He's got a couple more laps that he can do here, but that's not a good sign as he carries on at the least. So he seems to be happy enough. And he's showing it about 0.3 quicker than his best right now. That would be enough to put him up to the pole. It was very hot, though, into turn 8 there.
I really like this fixed setup qualifying because it provides a little bit of strategy. You got to come in, you got to burn fuel, you got to take new tires, and then ultimately it ends up being like these F1 qualifying shootouts at the end where it's just fast lap replacing fast lap. It's a ton of fun to watch.
It really is, and right now he comes down the Casino Straight behind Mark Rondeau, who's going to be our next car across the line, looking like he might improve. He sits in 11th currently, so I'm watching him as we keep the cameras here on Layton. And yes, Rondeau down to a 36.570, but he does not go any higher than that 11th spot. Up next is going to be Layton, but he's backing off of it, so I think he wasn't happy with that lap. I think he's trying to set himself up for one last charge.
And yeah, that's good because he'll cross the stripe with about a minute left. He will get one more lap in. Joe, the car that I've been watching, the driver, Michael Johnson, he's been struggling the last handful of laps to try to get something clean in. He tried to set this lap up as his last-ditch hope, but he's got a car, Jeff Groff, right in front of him. This could help with a slipstream, but could also hurt with a car in the way.
Yeah, Groff, one of our newer drivers in, but it has shown that he's quite quick from what we've seen. A couple drivers trying to get out of the way, Groff including, who just straight lines it through turn 8 into the barrier. So Michael Johnson got a little bit of the slipstream, but not a whole lot, and definitely not on the longest straight, as the number 9 heads down into Lepingle, our current reigning champion, sitting in 6th position, and this is indeed going to be his last lap. It looks like in front of him, Dustin Heindel will be the first driver to get the checkered flag.
Yeah, just running out of time in qualifying, and these laps are going to be coming to an end. Ooh, I think Michael's actually lifting off. I thought he was on a decent lap, but he said, nope, not good enough for me.
He is not. Heindel does not improve. Next one is Mike Parsons, who we saw go by him in the 561. Does not go quicker, unfortunately. Mehmet Karasay ends his qualifying. Leighton going to be the next car across, as they can complete their hot laps here. It does look like he is trying to book it, but I'm not showing him as improving if my timing is correct here, but he does. It's a 35.201. That'll put him back to pole. Chinichi does have a chance to respond here.
He does, through the wall of champions last time. How much does he go out on the exit? He's still tracking purple. Does Chinichi take it back?
It's going to be close. He crosses the line, and it's discounted. He must have had an off track. It will not be pole for Andrew Chinichi, but clearly he's fast. I think we got a battle on our hands for the lead of this race once we get that green flag, as we see the 69 car of Matt Hollander now come through. I think going to be the last driver to be able to finish his qualifying here.
As they cross the line, the time is running out. I don't think that was going to be a fast lap there for Hollander. Just a few more cars on the racetrack that I see still capable of possibly putting down a time, including, I believe this is Mike Parsons going down the Casino Straight.
And I do love this. This is a paint scheme that was actually raced at Le Mans this past week. So very cool. The team actually had people in dinosaur suits around with the car. So they were having fun with this theme. Let's see if it's enough fun to improve. No, it is not. The 561 stays in 22nd place. The unfortunate thing for Chinichi is we're hearing that his lap time would have been quick enough for pole if it hadn't have gone off track somewhere. So that has got to be frustrating for him, but we'll see if that lack of track position is decisive enough, because our order is set. And as we said, Tom Leighton is on the top spot. Chinichi next to him here when we get the green flag. Cigar Dewan starts from 3rd as AJ Roper will be P4, as Michael Bolton will start from P5, and then the outside of row 3 sees our current reigning champion of Michael Johnson. Chad Duncan starts 7th. Jeff Groff will be P8, and Sam Mayorga 9th. Michael Ost will round out your top 10.
Here in 11th, we have Mark Rondeau, Edward Nelson in 12th, BJ Fulton and Doug Baccioni in 13th and 14th, Mehmet Karakay in 15th, Corey Thiel in 16th, and we have Michael Robin and Mark Bray on row 9, Christian Jasper and Matt Hollander in 20th.
Dustin Heindel is 21st, Mike Parsons 22nd, and Larry Haas, the last to set a time, in 23rd. Dylan Scott does not look like he is in the session right now, so not sure if all 24 cars are going to grid up, but rolling starts, so they have lined up just on the Casino Straight and are ready to go. Going to be a short pace lap, but it's always awkward trying to start rolling starts at this track here, Joey, with that last chicane.
The last chicane really is single file, so you kind of have to literally be a zipper going through that chicane in order to get back formed up for that 2x2 start. We'll see how this field handles it.
Yeah, and the leader can technically go, I believe. Once the pace car is in the lane, they have control, so they could just take off and leave everybody kind of scrambling to make do. So we'll see if Tom does that here, or if he's going to wait patiently and let everybody get through that chicane, as the start line is a ways down the front stretch, so he has quite a ways before that green flag is flown. He is going to wait. He's not taking off as everybody behind scrambles to try and get back into their positions. He's going to go for the green flag, apparently, and there it is. Green flag is out to start the new season. Leighton, heading down into the first corner, is going to try and stay out of trouble. This place is notorious for wrecks in this first part, and it looks like the top group is clean. What about farther back down? A little bit of door banging, but otherwise I don't see anybody turned around.
Yeah, we're 2, maybe 3 wide going through the center chicane for the first time, but it's Shinichi over Leighton, Roper, Dewan, Johnson, and now we've got troubles.
Jeff Groff is off, and I don't see who that is in the yellow machine trying to make that out.
Bolton.
Looks like that's Michael Bolton, and thankfully it was only those two with the group so packed together. I thought that was going to be a massive pileup.
A couple with cold tires into that, really call it the first chicane at speed. Yeah, fortunate that it only collected 2 cars, but Shinichi starts to lead the way. It's got a nice 5-car breakaway.
Oh, that was a big slide there, and unfortunately for AJ Roper, he has to check up. Tom Leighton had a problem and nearly had everybody get into him. Cigar Dewan's going to be able to sneak by. Leighton's down to 3rd. Michael Johnson, in his typical fashion, already up 2 spots since the start of the race, and now he's going to try and see if he can get one more, but it's a poor exit for him off of Lapingle.
Not only past champion, but I saw that he didn't have enough fuel to complete his qualifying lap, so he's making up for it on the racetrack with his pace.
And Shinichi is loving this. Not only has he gotten the lead away from Tom Leighton here on the first lap, but he's using all this mess behind him to try and run away. So he's got about 1.5 seconds at the end of the first lap with Dewan behind him. Leighton is trying to give chases. Looks like there's an attack there from AJ Roper, but a big defense from Johnson dissuades him.
And it's really Tom Leighton now going up and applying the pressure back on Dewan. We saw that mistake out of Leighton. I wonder if he's got everything just kind of back collected into the groove of things.
Now, with that first incident, Jeff Groff had to take a tow. The car was too damaged to continue. But Bolton is carrying on, and he has no rear wing. Surely that car is not going to be fast, and there's no scheduled pit stops for this series. So I don't think the 127 is going to have a very fun time out there as we watch the battle now for the last podium spot between Leighton and Johnson heading into turn 8. Leighton looks like he has better control of the car now.
Yeah, this is a great 4-car race. And Joe, I don't want to speak too much about the model with the brand new stuff, but Michael Bolton, I have seen a couple exploits with the damage model and the car actually getting faster.
Yeah, I guess less drag, but I have seen him spin up the rear tires a couple times. He's going to get another spot as a couple drivers have found themselves struggling to keep up with him. Larry Haas, Mike Parsons, and Corey Thiel already been demoted by that bright yellow machine. So, yeah, Bolton's not letting it slow him down. Next on his list is Mark Bray, but it's a big gap ahead of Mark. So maybe that will check him up at least for a little bit if he continues to have this pace. But an interesting start here in the new car, and definitely a few drivers have already scratched the paint on that new toy.
I think we're not. Oh, here, yeah, jumping over the curb there. Wonder if you're going to get a slowdown penalty from that. Certainly looks like it's going to pull off drivers left. Have to lift off out of the throttle, I would assume. And actually, we got a change for second place. Looks like Tom Leighton has made his bye cigar, and here comes Michael Johnson.
Johnson going to try and see if he can do anything as well, but the Oreo car is indeed stuck in the middle, at least for now. Good cutback, but no place to take it for Michael Johnson. AJ Roper says, I've got an opening, and I'm going off to the right. He is going to cover off Michael Johnson and maybe have a pass here.
Ride the waves of momentum, and AJ Roper side by side. Michael Johnson trying to hang tough here, and Roper slips up on the throttle. Wow, what a defense from our previous champion.
Both of them look like they were spinning up the tires coming out of the chicane there. They are eager, and while this car does have some traction control, I guess the fixed setup does not have it turned up very high, so they now accelerate down the casino straight. Cigar Dewan is making good use of this by trying to run away from the pair, but so is Tom Layton. He's in clear air, and it's 1.8 seconds up to Shinichi, so what does the race look like from here?
Speaking of that wagging of the tail, Joe, that you were mentioning, trying to put the power down, one of the things that I loved about the GT3 Porsche model, the previous stuff, is that it had character. It had yaw angle when you drove it. It was fun to drive, and it certainly seems like it's carried over into the new one.
Yeah, I do like that a lot. Meanwhile, we got some battles here towards the back of the pack, as this is the fight between Dustin Heindel. It looks like BJ Fulton and Mehmet Karasay along with Baccignone stuck in there. They come through the Senna chicane and out towards turn 3. We saw an accident coming into here on the first lap, but let's see if everybody makes it through here successfully. It looks like they're all going to keep it out of the walls this time.
I do love this racetrack. I think that people either love it or hate it. It's kind of like a hybrid street circuit, but it actually has flow to it. I said it's stop-start, but that just provides passing opportunities.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. You wouldn't think a bunch of chicanes and long straights would be loved by drivers, but it is well revered. As we've got a replay of the opening incident, I think we've got a little time here to take a glance at it. I didn't even see what caused this, so let's see if we can figure this one out. Oh, I wonder if Groff got help there.
I think, yes. I think Bolton got into the back of him. I think that maybe Groff was just a little bit early on the brakes. I don't blame him being the first lap on cold tires, and I just don't think that Bolton was ready for that.
No, and unfortunately both of them really losing it as trying to get the car to go back onto the pavement. Bolton eventually made it there, and he's still in 17th, but still lacking that rear wing and looking decently handy. He's catching up to Michael Robin now in that 929, very brightly colored red and green machine. So let's see, what does Bolton's laps look like? A 37.2.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. 37.0. To put that into perspective, that's fast enough to be running inside the top 5.
Wow. Well, but yeah, now he's discovering the downsides to this one. Is getting off the corners, maybe a little bit tricky. So yeah, he's fast, but oh, what's going on here? Someone coming out of turn 2 at a place you're not supposed to.
Yeah, and that's, I believe, you know, the new F1 wall over there that you got to go around pretty much through the Senna chicane. But yeah, just a couple problems out there. Certainly not going to be the last one.
Yeah, it's Mike Parsons that we saw who must have had an issue, and that wall is not here in the iRacing version. Down to the inside. That was brave from Larry Haas, but he made it stick over Mark Bray.
Yeah, getting the pass done. Something else that I'm noticing, oh, here he comes back, actually. A nice little battle going down into this third chicane here. Defensive move. Let's see if there's any late braking opportunities. No, gonna stay stagnant here.
Haas keeps him behind, but they're having fun out there. It might be towards the back of the field, but I can guarantee you they're still fighting hard for everything. Speaking of fighting hard, coming down the casino straight, Heindel and BJ Fulton, a little bit of side-by-side, but Heindel looks like he is quicker right now, coming off the corner and under braking. He will stay in 12th.
Funnel it through that chicane, flirt with the wall of champions, accelerate it back up onto the front straightaway, and ooh, did we see that Tom Layton had another problem with touching the wall?
Now, I'm not sure that he touched the wall. I think he had a slowdown penalty because he just headed through turns 1 and 2 very, very slowly and gave up a ton of time that he had made up quite well, actually. He was down to 1.7 seconds to Shinichi.
That makes sense. I was watching him through the chicane. He jumped the second curb very aggressively in making up that ground. And you're right. He had closed it down to 1 second between himself and our leader. But now he's got Cigar Dewan, Michael Johnson, and AJ Roper to deal with.
Yeah, now Cigar's got the slipstream back, so this is going to make life very difficult. Obviously, no DRS on these machines, but even still, the 501 should be able to pull if he gets a decent exit off of Lepingle, and Johnson's going to try and follow him, no doubt. Let's see what it holds here as they accelerate their way down the rowing lake.
Leighton got an excellent drive off of that hairpin corner, but I mean, so did Cigar. Really even runs from all four of these cars. Joe, what that tells me, the setup working very well.
Absolutely. And both of them very aggressive over the curbs this time themselves, but no slowdown penalty that I can see being given to either car, so they'll carry on. Tom Leighton, obviously that last lap won't count, so we won't see his true pace until maybe after this one.
Through the center chicane, put the power down, kind of squirm it away on exit, and now he's actually starting to draw back away from Cigar. He's got 2.5 seconds up the road to Chinichi. I think that there's still time for Leighton to catch him.
There's still time, but I feel like Andrew is still looking pretty quick today, so I wonder if that mistake might wind up being decisive, because it's going to be even harder to try and both catch and pass that orange and gray machine. Cigar de Juan, though, still making this a fight there for that second position, not letting Tom go away.
And to add to your point, we've already seen 2 mistakes out of Tom Leighton. Who knows what the next 19 minutes is going to do, because he's going to be having to push it that much harder to catch up to our leader. So is he going to make another mistake, or has he learned his lesson?
This is a bit surprising, because the last season they ran in the GT3 Cup car. That's a very raw car without many driver aids, and this is very much the reverse, being GT3 class machinery. And has plenty to try and help you out. And yet we rarely saw mistakes from Tom in that old car. And here, the very first race, he's already looking kind of out of sorts.
Sometimes you can take advantage of the nannies a little bit too much out there. You can kind of lean on them, rely on them, and then when you need them the most, they're not actually there to save you. They're there to help you. And so there's 2 different approaches. When you have that raw car, you can kind of manhandle it a little bit more. And when you have all these nannies and aids in the car, you kind of have to let the car drive itself. 2 different styles.
Interesting. I'll have to remember that. It certainly is surprising me. And Tom's still at about 2.5 seconds back, but he is gaining, I think, on Chinichi. Last lap for Tom was a 36.7. Chinichi was a 36.9. So that's going to be bit by bit if he keeps up that pace and is consistent throughout. He's got 17 minutes left to do it.
Looks like this is Rondeau at the head of this field, and he's got to slow down. He's got to give up some of this time, and these cars are starting to stack up behind him. And if he doesn't give this up enough, he's going to get a penalty.
But he's done so very smartly. He's given it back, and he's still got him behind. Somebody clipped the wall there on the exit of 9?
It was Rondeau. Rondeau clipped the wall at the head of this train in the gray car.
So did he do any damage is the question here. Look at him really try to get the power down coming off the corner, Rondeau included. Mayorga still behind him. Jad Duncan is in there, and then it's Ed Nelson at the back of this quartet. They're coming up into one of the more popular passing spots here into the Wall of Champions, but I don't see anybody quite close enough.
I'm impressed with the car. It seems to be built like a tank. Rondeau bounced off of the concrete wall. I don't see any steering damage. I don't see any fender damage. It's chugging along.
Absolutely. And you know, that's something that just struck me. Oh, is a little wide there for Sam Mayorga. He's going to give up 2 spots because of that as Nelson and Duncan sneaks through. But something I hadn't thought of is while they do a lot with the BOP, even down to refueling stuff on these cars to make sure that they're even here on iRacing, I doubt they do much in terms of the strength of the car. So if one of them is stronger over the other, I guess that's an advantage that you might have to take into consideration as we're wheel to wheel with Jad Duncan and Ed Nelson, and poor Mayorga has no place to take all his speed.
And we might even get 3 wide going into this chicane here. Mayorga, yeah, you're right, just has to settle back into the 3rd car in train here. Nelson Now kind of the middle of the sandwich, Jad Duncan escaping.
It's going to be able to get away with that spot, not lose it. Nelson trying to see if he can prevent Mayorga from immediately taking the position back as they jockey around down to the braking of Lapingle. Off the corner, right up to the exit wall there for Sam Mayorga.
Mayorga actually, I think, has the best run out of all three, but these three cars are close enough that the draft could come into play here going into the final chicane. See if Mayorga's close enough. Nelson starting to draw it up on Duncan, but they're going to stay single file through the chicane, flirt with that wall of champions. Oh, so close.
But they managed to stay out of it, and it looks like they're going to stay single file. By the way, I think Tom Layton was holding something in reserve. He's just hit a pair of 36.4 and 36.5. Shinichi's very consistent with his 37 flat. So Layton is absolutely flying and chomping away at that gap.
Being a 30-minute race, I don't think we're going to get a bunch of tire wear that'll really affect the cars at the end. I wonder if it's just Tom Layton with the bit between his teeth. He's already made 2 mistakes, and now he's on a roll saying, hey, let's just keep on going.
Red Mist is down. He wants to make up for what he had done to himself, essentially. And it's down to 1 second between himself and Shinichi. So you said earlier that you think he's still got a good chance of picking him up. And you're right. I didn't think that he would catch him quite this quickly.
I think the other thing we're missing here is Shinichi, I think, had a mistake this lap. I'm showing him tracking about a second off of his fastest. Ooh. So not the best lap from our leader.
Interesting. Yeah, let's see what he runs this time. Otherwise, he's been pretty consistent. And that was Robin, who had a bit of a problem there in 8 and 9, but it looks like the car is still rolling at least. As Shinichi crosses this lap, yeah, he was about 4/10 off.
I'm nervous for Tom Layton, Joe, because he is so close to getting those cutting the course penalties through some of these chicanes. He is charging over the apex curbs.
I wonder if that's where he's finding the time in comparison to Andrew, just willing to be more aggressive around here, and at times maybe going a bit over the limit. But everybody's got to find it and try to get as close as they can. It's just Tom's that little bit more brave.
I think so, and it's the reason for one of his slowdowns. And looks like the 59 Baccioni having problems here in turn 1 and 2.
That was, I think, on his own. Oh, and Jad Duncan as well, unfortunately, with a very separate incident. So we'll see if we can look into those in a little bit. But he's got a broken car, and somehow is not hit by anybody in that 360. I don't know how they squeaked through there.
I don't know if you can see that left rear wheel, but it is not pointing the right way. And trust me, when the rear wheels don't point straight, that is the product you get.
That explains it. As who was that we just?
That was Bolton. He was trying to fight for a top 10.
And it went wrong, unfortunately, going off the course as Duncan's had to tow the car. He cannot drive it back to the pit lane. So Bolton still down 7 from where he started, but doing an incredible job. And there's Bolton right there. He gets one of them from Baccione spinning. And I'm wrong. I think he made a slight bit of contact with the car ahead, but in a strange twist, he didn't spin the car ahead. He spun himself.
It can happen. You got all the weight on the nose already from being standing on the brakes, and then you put even more force on it. The rear end is just going to come right around like a pickup truck.
And there's the incident for Jad. Yeah, a couple hits with the wall. That'll do it. Car is just toast at that point. He knows it. He might become our latest DNF here, as they do have a spare car, but he had to tow it, and we've only got so many minutes left. Oh, he might be able to get back into pit lane. Meanwhile, watching something happen with Bolton.
That was still that off from Bolton right there, is just a slight off into the grass, but he only lost maybe about a second or two on track. He's still on track to go back there and hunt down a top 10 with that broken car.
By the way, Layton is catching up to Shinichi now, but His last lap was not nearly as fast. It was a 36.9. Shinichi matched him at a 36.9. The GT3 class cars are kind of known for giving off a bit of an aero wake. And while this track doesn't have a lot of fast corners, that would be a problem. I wonder if he's discovering it's one thing to catch, it's another to pass.
Well, there's the point right there, Joe. We just watched the gap shrink through that chicane. I mentioned how aggressive Leighton is through the curbs on some of these chicanes. That wall of champions is where he makes up the most amount of ground.
Last lap, 36.3. Fastest lap of the race for Tom Leighton. Never mind, he's not being held up in the wake. He is still on top of it, and he is absolutely there now. They've run away from the rest of the field. It's about 3.5 seconds to third place with Cigar de Juan, just kind of still holding on to that one. Not sure if Shinichi was defending there, if that was his natural racing line, but certainly was preventing Leighton from looking in for a second there.
Oh, Shinichi tapped the wall coming out of our first chicane here on the right side. I don't expect any damage to be done to the car, but I feel like Shinichi is starting to feel the pressure.
Absolutely, I would definitely be. Oh, is that Johnson? That's Michael Johnson. He's got a problem coming out of turn 7. He's going to get the car going, and that is Jad Duncan with him, who's taking his spare car. He's a lap down, so he's not racing him for position. Checking to see what happened to Michael. Did he just goose it too hard, maybe?
I think so. Yes, I didn't see any outside contact. We're going to get a replay here. Think it might get in the grass. Is there grass all the way on the outside of the curb?
I don't think so. It could have been the curb itself, maybe.
Either way, he was way out there, out of shape, and the car was just loose and around a came.
Oh, he nosed it pretty hard into the Armco there. I don't think it's going to be fast in a straight line after that one. And Chad Duncan having to really get on the brakes, trying to stay out of everybody's way, knows that his race is mostly over and he just needs to try and pick up whatever spots others may lose. But Michael is going to carry on and try and see if he can finish this race without taking a spare car, because that will cost him yet more time. Still no pass between Leighton and Shinichi. In fact, Tom lost a couple tenths this last lap.
It's riding the waves out there. Sometimes Tom is crazy fast in the back half of the section, but sometimes Shinichi is able to pull it out in the front half of the track. So it's a matter of if Tom Leighton's going to be close enough at a point in this racetrack to make a move.
Well, and if he can elicit a mistake out of that number 6, surely he's going to be trying to pounce. But we'll see if he can do that or not, as there's 8 minutes left on the clock, 1.5 minutes per lap. We're probably looking at about 6 laps to go here before this is said and done. And let's not forget, lap traffic is going to be a thing. They've got Corey Thiel up first, and then they got a little bit of a break before they get to Mark Bray.
Here we go, Joe. This is the opportunity I've been waiting for. He's not going to be close enough into the chicane here, but turn 1, watch out if he gets a run over the curbs here.
And surely he's got to know that he's been much faster through there up to this point. How aggressive does he dare be? That didn't quite look as good as his previous few laps.
Nope. I think Andrew has actually turned it up a little bit. I've been watching Tom and how aggressive he's been, but now that he's caught Shinichi, I think Andrew's starting to be a little bit more aggressive himself.
36.5 last time, yeah. I mean, Shinichi's fastest lap is a 36.4, so he can do laps like that. It's just, I guess maybe he was kind of taking it easy while he was up at the front, figuring let's not endanger the car. He knows it's going to be difficult to pass here, apparently. I didn't think it would be that hard, but it's looking like, at least for Tom Leighton, he's reached him, just can't seem to do anything now that he's there.
Also, if we draw back to qualifying, remember, Shinichi had pole position taken away from going off track at some point. So, yeah, Leighton, our pole sitter for sure, but either one of these cars, I think, has the speed.
Up to 4 seconds now beyond Cigar de Juan. And they are pushing, I think. This is where they have both turned up the wick and are trying to scamper away. A little bit of contact maybe around Lepingle. No spin from Shinichi, but Leighton lets him know he's there.
That actually allowed Shinichi to scoot out a little bit in front of Tom here. He was really setting up the late apex while Tom was trying to poke his nose in. Just a slight mismanagement of the gap.
So as they head back through the Wall of Champions, once again, they are now approaching Thiel. This is what I like to see. He's going to pull over, let them through. So good sportsmanship from Corey to make sure not to interrupt this fight.
I just want to give props to the shock guy on this Porsche because he has got the rebound settings nailed on this thing. It is not bouncing when it's landing.
And made it out of mithril or something as well. It's amazing how durable they are. But coming down out of turn 4, a little bit of breathing space for Shinichi where he can at least relax for a brief moment. I do see that Rondeau and Nelson are still fighting for that 6th position. They've been getting somewhat close once again. Both of them up 5 since the start. They've had very good gains.
Rondeau in this gray car here, you're right, holding off Ed Nelson, and yeah, both up 5 positions, as well as Michael Oost right there in front of him, up 5 positions. This entire group, big movers.
I have to hope that my dad does not see Mark Rondeau's car, because he has a thing about battleship gray cars. He thinks it's a horrible sin in terms of car liveries, but apparently not for Rondeau, who is certainly wielding it to great effect here up to that 6th spot, and also starting to pull away a little bit from Nelson. It was close at the start of this lap, but it's wiggling apart.
Well, maybe don't look at it so much as battleship gray. Maybe look at it as aggressive shark gray.
I'll have to tell him that next time we come up. That comes up in conversation. That is Michael Oost in front of him. Been a bit of a quiet race for that 73. Didn't see him a whole lot last season. And coming back, looking at a potential top 5 here if he can keep this up ahead of these two. Just kind of out of arm's reach at this stage. But we're only 4 minutes left to go as well.
Running a nice pace, and as long as he continues to run that pace, he will stay ahead of Mark Rondeau. They're running pretty much identical times, but he's got about a 1.5 second gap to these two.
So the 11 ahead of the 12 seems appropriate, I suppose, as they take plenty of those inside curbs, certainly taking it right up to the edge of the track here is Mark Rondeau. In fact, in some cases, taking a lot of these chicanes. We've seen a few slowdown penalties already. I'm actually pleasantly surprised that we haven't seen more of them, because this place kind of notorious for catching drivers out.
It catches me out all the time. I can barely complete a lap around this place, but I am a Spec Miata driver at heart. I go over the grass most of the time.
Yeah, it can get a little bit more greedy in places. Meanwhile, Shinichi versus Leighton still about 7/10 apart. Andrew looking to try and open things up this season and see if he can take a win to bring the fight to Leighton, our champion from 2022 in the POC. Crosses the line, 2 laps to go now.
I think the biggest difference between when Leighton was catching Shinichi versus what's happening now is that Andrew seems to get out of the corners extremely well. He's able to hold off Tom Leighton into these potential passing opportunities. It's just kind of like holding him at a stiff arm distance.
Absolutely, because I'm looking at the lap times, and there's all those 37s that I had mentioned when Tom was catching, and since Tom caught him, he has never been outside the 36s. In fact, most are in the low 36s now of recent laps. So he is absolutely picking it up. There you go. Leighton is comparable, but that lap 16 certainly cost him there. We'll see what this one has between them when they get to the white flag.
Well, you said it about halfway through this race, and it's the old saying, catching and passing are 2 totally different things. Shinichi is proving that.
A little bit of a look down to the inside, very much trying to get on the throttle coming off of there, and Leighton can't keep up with Shinichi. He falls back as they accordion apart once again. All Andrew needs to do is try and keep it cool on this one final lap. and he could add to his win tally. He's only had 2, interestingly. No, excuse me, make that 3 so far that he's had in his career in the POC.
Here we go. White flag. 1 more lap remaining. Is Tom Layton going to be close enough to make a move? Something else I was just noticing, Joe, that right rear damage on Shinichi doesn't seem to be slowing him down, but it is visual.
Yeah, and it certainly looks like Tom Layton has figured out where the headlights button is on this car already, because he was flashing at him across the line. So trying everything, he's throwing the kitchen sink at it now, trying to see if he can distract him and play some psychological games, but doesn't look like it's working.
He's going to need to really close it up coming into the final hairpin here. He's got to get through this chicane, which we know he can do. He can be aggressive over these curbs. Let's make sure you don't get too aggressive to get a slowdown, and sure enough, he closes it up. He's got to get the exit out of the hairpin.
Got to think that Tom's going to be all out here. He's going to want to take this win, not let Andrew put one over on him. The first race of the season. No, he tries too hard and he spins it. Can he get it going in time? Because Cigar de Juan is coming up in a hurry.
Got to be careful that you don't cut the track too much, and you're right. Here comes Cigar. Cigar's going to be within 1 second, and he's got to run.
He's got a slowdown penalty. Tom has to give the time back. He is not going to be able to fight back here unless he has something phenomenal through the final chicane. Pressure is off on Andrew Shinichi. He withstood everything that Tom Layton tried to throw at him. He didn't get the pole, but that doesn't matter because the points are awarded at the race as Shinichi wins, and Cigar de Juan will get a shock second place. Layton only third.
Well, he does hang on to the podium. I thought AJ Roper might have stole that away from him, but just ending in tears for Layton.
Other cars coming across the line. Ost with that 5th. Rondeau holds on to 6th with Nelson 7th. And poor Michael Johnson after that spin, our current reigning champion, kicks it off with only a 9th place finish and a mere 3 points to his name.
Look at this, Michael Bolton running the whole race with no rear wing, but it's Matt Hollander that holds him off. Matt finishes with a top 10.
Yep, Bolton couldn't quite crack into there, but I'd say he ran an admirable race considering the condition that that car was in. We will get 18 cars finishing on the lead lap, but Parsons and Haas are a long ways back. So while we let them finish up their race, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. First round of the season here in the Porsche Owners Club Series sees Andrew Shinichi take the win as Cigar de Juan actually wound up second behind him. He wasn't there for much of the race. It was Tom Layton who was fighting Andrew pretty much half the race, and then Tom made a mistake at his last dive at trying to take the lead away and spun the car, wound up in third as AJ Roper should get credit there for that 4th place race. That was a good race from him. Just couldn't manage to get by DeJuan and all of that, nor Tom Layton. Michael Ost as well, like I said, kind of running his own thing out there to get a top 5 as Mark Rondeau was 6th, and then Edward Nelson in 7th. Sam Mayorga finished P8. Michael Johnson with a wreck partway through the race wound up 9th, and Matt Hollander, our hardest charger, up 10 to finish 10th.
Michael Bolton with the damaged car falls 6 positions to finish in 11th, but honestly, credit to him because he was all the way at the back of the field and made his way back to 11th. BJ Fulton finishes 12th. Mehmet Karasay here in 13th. Dustin Heindel in 14th. Doug Boccioni noticed a couple spins out of the 59, brings it home with a top 15. Michael Verban here 16th. Mike Parsons 17th. Larry Haas, our last car on the lead lap, in 18th. Jad Duncan with the damage finishes 19th. And Mark Bray, the first of our DNFs, in 20th.
Thiel, I believe, got the car back out there and tried to run it to the end, but was still 5 laps down, and then definitely DNFs from here with Groff and Jasper. Actually, Jasper was a DNS along with Dylan Scott there at the end of your results. Up at the top, though, Andrew Chinichi, ready to chat with us about his win here today. Curious to hear his thoughts about how hard he was pushing at certain points, because certainly we thought for a while he was not nearly as quick as Tom Layton. There we go. Now we've got him in with us. Andrew, part of the race, it looked like that Tom had the pace on you. He ran you down, and then you suddenly picked it up. Were you just kind of managing things?
I think I was managing some risk. I saw in the beginning that he got some slowdowns by using a little too much of the curb. I was trying to stay out of the ABS and out of the TC. But honestly, Tom was really, really quick too. But yeah, I didn't want to hit any walls. I didn't want to get any slowdowns. And then as he started to catch me towards the end, I started to take a few more risks using some more curb in places, and I think I was able to stabilize the gap a little bit. And then the last few laps, I made a few mistakes, and he was able to close it up even more. And then, yeah, fortunately, in one of the final turns, he made him kind of another mistake as well. So that was tense. That was tense for sure.
Yeah, it felt tense from our side as well. Now, we saw from the timing that even though your last lap in qualifying didn't count, it actually would have been good enough for pole. Were you aware of that? And was it frustrating to miss out on the pole to Tom there, knowing that how difficult it looked like to try and pass today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you brought it up. I wanted to, because yeah, definitely a bit frustrating. I had a few runs towards the end there that either got, I made a mistake on, or I got kind of caught up on traffic. So I knew I could go faster. And then, yeah, really frustrating to get that slow down in the last corner, and, ultimately lose the lap time.
So last season it was 5 missed races that definitely hurt a little bit in trying to take the fight to Tom Layton and put you out of the serious hunt. But this time you've come back and won the opening race. So will you have the ability to have full attendance this season?
Yeah, I think so. I'm definitely going to try to. I know that we get to drop a race, so I'll try to be strategic about that. Definitely have to do some more practice with this car and figure it out a little bit more, and how to make it last over a stint. I think I was more comfortable with the Cup car for sure. But yeah, I definitely hopefully can do every race, and hopefully they're not all as stressful as this one.
Well, it was entertaining to say the least for us, but yeah, I hope for your nerves that you're able to have a little bit of an easier time. In the meantime, congratulations on the win, and hopefully we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right. Thank you very much. Take care, guys.
Andrew Chinichi, your winner here today. Up next, Joey's caught up with Cigar DeJuan, who is second.
Cigar Dewan finishing in second place, stealing it away from Tom Layton. Congrats on the finish.
Thank you, guys.
Talk to me about your race, because it seemed like you had a pretty good start. You battled with Tom for a while. You had a good battle also with Michael Johnson fending him off, but ultimately coming home in second.
Yeah, that was a pretty tough race, actually. I could tell that I did not actually have the pace for third or second. I actually let Tom by the first time we were battling, because I was like, I don't need this. I don't need him behind me. Like, he's a force, and I could see him just closing up, and I was like, just go. And I think I gave up too much, because then both AJ and Michael caught up to me. But yeah, it was mostly just trying to manage. I think turn 2, I was just going way too slowly, and I could see everybody that was behind me would just catch me in turn 2. I don't know what I was doing different there, but I think I just wanted to be easy on the tires, because it was a long race, and the first time with this car with half a tank of gas. So I was just trying to take it easy. I had almost no offs, so I'm pretty happy about that. But yeah, I really don't know if I had the pace. I think I had just enough pace to remain ahead. And there was a lot of chatter. All the drivers were talking constantly. And so towards the end of it, AJ started to catch me because I was distracted. I was laughing and driving, and I was like, oh no, I might lose third place. But then Tom had his spin, and yeah, I just managed to come in second.
Speaking of laughing and having a good time, since you are running the livery and you are the sandwich in the podium, what is your favorite Oreo?
Oh, I just like the classic.
Okay, just the
Yeah.
classic Oreo. All right.
Yes.
Okay. It is good. I'm a double stuff man personally. But last thing, how do you like this new car? Because it's only been out for a week. It seemed to handle the curbs awesome, but what is it like from the driver's perspective?
The car is awesome. It's just fun. We have a lot of the assists turned on. I would, personally, I'd like to turn them down just a little bit, but it's so playful. You can get it sliding, and you can be rough with it, but you also want to kind of be smooth. And like you said, it's super easy over the curb. So I was abusing curbs wherever I could, and I noticed actually that the guys in front of me were doing the same thing, which is why I started doing it even more. But yeah, the car is awesome. It's so much fun to drive. It's easy to just hop in, and you don't have to worry about like learning the car. The car just does what you think it should, and so yeah, really enjoying it.
Well, Cigar, congrats once again on the second place. A heck of a drive.
Thank you.
Cigar Dewan, second here at Circuit Villeneuve.
And then we've got Tom Layton, who finished third in today's race. And Tom, let's talk about that first lap. Andrew managed to get by you. Then you had a little bit of a hiccup that put you on the back foot. So do you regret some of that first lap, or what was happening that put you out of sorts there?
Yeah, I think the first mistake was that turn 2, just given too much room. I didn't get over back to the right to the apex, and I went the long way around, and I just opened the door right up for Andrew to get by. And then so that put me on the back foot, and then I think I got squirrely on one of the later chicanes, and that hurt me as well. And yeah, it really hurt. And then I made mistakes with the final chicane. I cut it a little too close, and I got a 2-second slowdown there, and that just put me playing catch up pretty much the whole time. So, man, I was sweating though. That was fun.
We were a little surprised at seeing some of the errors that you made today, mostly because the Cup car last season, we would have expected to be a little bit trickier in that sense. But it looked like you might be adjusting. Is that accurate? Are you still kind of find yourself adapting to the new car?
Yeah, and there's just those chicanes here. You just have to push the car, and it's kind of risky over those. And I think that it just makes this a tough track for any car. I think this car rotates a little more on entry, so there's a little more opportunity for it to get loose. And I actually think it's like probably a little bit more difficult to drive than the Cup car. Locking up the brakes aside. But yeah, I'm still getting used to it a little bit. Still kind of like feeling it out here and there.
Next time out is going to be the Red Bull Ring. Do you think it'll suit you and the car a little better?
Yeah, I think so. That's one of those tracks. I think I do better on like street circuits where you know where the limit is, and like Red Bull Ring is just like 1x after 1x because it's just red lines everywhere, and you can't tell where the track boundaries are. So I'm going to have to spend a lot of time figuring out how much curb I can take. And once I get that sorted out, I think I'll do pretty well.
Well, best of luck. Still a podium to start it off, so nothing to be too ashamed of. Congratulations.
Yep, I'm happy with it. So thank you guys. Thank my sponsors, FR Sport, and thank my wife as well.
And with that, we're going to close out with some thank yous to the sponsors of the series, including Porsche. There is no substitute. Find out more at Porsche.com. And Game Changer Wealth, helping you become a game changer with wealth. Contact them today, GameChangerBR.com, or at 225-664-2565. Thanks to the team today, Joey, Zach, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Like we said, next time out, Red Bull Ring will be Monday, July 10th. Needed a little bit of a break for the holiday at 11 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.